Welcome back to the Spooky Channel. Today, we're going to dive into a cult that maybe you guys probably never heard of before. I think you guys will enjoy this one. Now, if you guys enjoy spooky stories, true crime, cults, pretty much anything horror, come check us out on Twitch. We do stream over there, The Metal Hay Show, where we cover a lot of topics. Serial killers, true crime, ghosts and paranormal, kind of in an after dark horror talk show. Link will be down below if you guys want to come over and follow. The cult of the Leopard Men. So this leopard cult, this society of leopard people have existed for centuries. Now these members of the leopard cult, they believe in certain things. Now these members believe they have the ability to shapeshift into leopards. And they kill by slashing, kind of like with Wolverine claws, mauling their victims to death, or using knives. And then they drink their blood and eat their flesh of their victims, as if they're actually truly leopards. Now, these cultists were kind of out there, they believed that a magical elixir actually transformed them and gave them special properties. Now, the special elixir was called Borfima. What they would do is they'd take the intestines of the people they killed and they would boil it, and then they would drink it. And then they believed that once drank, they would be able to transform themselves into leopards. Kind of out there. Now, there's one leopard person called the Badieli, or also known as the Executioner. Now, this Executioner would wear a leopard hood, leopard garments, usually made from bark and painted black and yellow to kind of resemble a leopard. So this person would actually bring the people to a shrine that's deep in the jungle, put them on this altar, a sacrificial altar, and then murder them, basically mauling them to death. And then here is where they drink the blood and eat the flesh and believe that they gain their powers. So this became a thing after World War I, back in 1930s. These members of the Anyoto tribe started going on a killing spree in Congo. Dressed in their costumes, they would stalk people through the jungles to their homes, and then they would pounce and attack. Pretty much like a leopard. So this was the first outbreak, just after World War I, going around murdering people. But luckily, many of its members were captured and executed. Now, the government believed that they had crushed the cult, that with the executions of these cult members that they were no more. But they were wrong. The leopard men simply went underground, and over this time they would continue to pop up and perform rituals and murder sporadically throughout the years. How long did they do this? They did this for over 2 decades. 1940s roll around, these leopard men, they became very bold. They decided to pop out and go on a bit of a murderous rampage over the next couple months. There were 48 cases of murders and attempted murders just in 1946 alone. Now just think about that. That's a pretty big number. Now remember, these aren't just murders, these are sacrifices. These sacrifices carried over into the next month of 1947, where there's 43 known killings and sacrifices within those first couple months. As you can see, they're getting bold. They're popping up and destroying people's lives. 1947, an officer named Terry Wilson discovered that these leopard men were killing young women within his jurisdiction. Terry Wilson was not going to have any of this. So he set out to finally find and destroy the rest of the leopard men cult, because they've been going on a rampage. He didn't want to see anyone else get murdered or killed on his watch. So he got a couple colleagues together and performed a raid on a local chief's house, the local chief named Nagogo. So they arrested Nagogo and they searched his house. And in his house they found a leopard mask and leopard skin robe with steel claws. He was one of the executioners. So acting on a tip from an informant, Wilson ordered his police officers to dig around his house, dig around the site to see what they could find, because they believed that there were some bodies buried within the property itself. So as they began to dig and search around, they found 13 victims. So they had Nagogo. They put him away in prison to await his trial. The leopard men were doing this for a long time. They were terrorizing people for quite a while. And Wilson, he was very determined to bring this cult to an end. Now the leopard men were like a scary urban legend in this part of the world. The civilians here lost all respect and confidence in the police because they believed these leopard people were actually real leopards that had the ability to transform. And even some of the officers here began to suspect that maybe they do have powers. Maybe they do have the ability to shapeshift into a leopard. So one night, August 1947, Wilson and 12 armed men went to the jungle to stake out a path where some of the attacks were happening in the jungle. So they went to the jungle to stake it out and hid behind some bushes and trees and awaited to see what would happen. He got one of his best men to walk up and down the path to see if they can bait one of these leopard men. Maybe multiple leopard men. However, this plan backfired on Wilson. As this officer was walking up and down the path, this leopard man jumped out of the shadows and beat the guy with a club, smashing in his skull. Now, before Wilson and others could arrive on scene, sadly, his deputy where his officer was dead. And the leopard man, he fled into the bushes to escape. Wilson lost one of his best men. He was very upset, yet he was very angry. Now this lit a fire underneath him. Now they're ready to get the constable's body up and moved out of there, but Wilson had a hunch that maybe this leopard man will return, thinking that if they believe they are real leopards, maybe this leopard man will come back for his prey, to get his blood, maybe to eat his flesh. So what did Wilson do? They left the constable's body there as bait. Wilson hid behind some bushes and trees and waited. Around midnight, a very nightmarish creature slowly came out of the bushes, walking on all fours like a leopard. But it wasn't a leopard. It was one of the cultists. And just as he suspected, the leopard person decided to come back for the body. Wilson, still in the bushes, watched as this leopard man jumped on top of the dead corpse and started to maul the face off. The leopard man was there to finish the sacrifice. Wilson saw what was happening, so he jumped out of the bushes, walked towards the leopard man with his gun pointed, and told him he was under arrest. But this leopard man, he thinks he's a leopard, snarled at him and charged at him with his claws. Wilson put 2 bullets into his chest, and the leopard man died. So now Wilson's thinking, these leopard men, they're just humans. After hearing about this, witnesses came forward in great numbers, giving clues as to who might be one of these cult members, with names, with addresses, and everything. Even some witnesses came forward about a shrine in the jungle. So Wilson got a team together to search the jungle, and they found the leopard men's shrine deep within the jungle itself. And it was protected by a large boulder. Cult altar was a flat slab of rock, where there's bloodstains all over this rock and skeletons laying all around it. 1948 rolls around, and 73 initiated members of the cult were arrested. Eventually, 39 of them were sentenced to death by being hanged. Their execution were witnessed by many of the tribes there, who would testify that yes, these are the leopard men. So this cult was done in 1948, but some people still believe this cult is around to this day, stalking the jungles, though keeping a low profile. Some people believe that they are still doing their sacrifices, taking people to the shrines, drinking their blood and eating their flesh. That was the cult of the leopard men. I hope you guys enjoyed this little story. One of the craziest cults I've heard of? Kind of. It's definitely out there. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this, be sure to hit that like button. And if you're new, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you guys do not miss out when we put out new videos. And as always, I'll see you in the next spooky video.